Alright squad, I brought you an amazing Midnight Chaos deck. This deck is extremely controlly. It can cycle through its own deck and cards when it needs to. So it can bring the number of attacks it needs to, or if it needs more foundations, it can find those. Also, it has a lot of ways to get out of trouble. And it can stun a lot. It's extremely controlly. So I'm very happy to bring this to you guys. I have a side deck here as well. Some extra cards you can add, maybe if you can find some room, maybe you don't like some of these choices I've made. Obviously this is Midnight. Midnight's abilities, if I commit her, I discard any number of cards, and if I do, I draw that same number of cards. So amazing cycle. Second enhance is commit one foundation. This attack gets +1 or -1 speed for each of its keywords playable while committed. So basically you got an ultimate speed reducer. Absolutely, it happens all the time. Minimum you're going to be able to slow by 1 speed, but most of the time you're going to at least get 2 speed lower or higher. And all of your attacks actually have 2 to 3 words. Most of your attacks are 3 words, so you're going to be fine. You're going to be happy. You're going to be attacking with high speed. The only problem with this deck is it uses a lot of its own resources. Like we said, she has to commit herself to discard card. She has to commit foundations to reduce speed. Some of our own attacks are pretty expensive, like Pillar Swing. So we went ahead and added a lot of these check reducers or check plussers. They give us an additional +1 on the check, like league interview as well as first day of class. We really need these because if we miss our checks, we're pretty behind. We cannot overextend that turn, because if we do, we do run with the potential of not being able to finish our opponent, and that puts us behind. If everything is committed, you only have 1 or 2 cards in your hand, the opponent can finish you off. So you really want to make sure that your checks are on point. If I get 1 or 2 bad checks, my first 2 attacks, I immediately stop overextending. But if I do get some nice checks, that means I can attack 4 times that turn. If I attack 4 times that turn, I'm going to stun at least 10 of your cards. Minimum, I'm going to stun 10. If I attack twice, I can stun 7 or 8 easily. And I'll show you how that works. So we went with final exam failures. Obviously, this is kind of a stun, but it's really not. But also control-y, so it's amazing. You flip it, your opponent has to check a 6. So basically, if they flip a 5, they have to commit 1 more. And if they flip a 3, they have to commit 3, or they destroy 1 of their ready foundation. Usually, if they check that 3, they destroy a foundation. I mean, committing 3 is just too big. Requesting assistance, this can pull you off of bad turns. Let's say the opponent committed some of your foundations, you can commit this. If you have 2, you can restand 1 with the other one, and then restand another card with this on requesting assistance. Stronger in Darkness, I actually noticed that the +1 is very beneficial during your final turn. That's, if you're attacking 4 times, that's +4 damage, and usually that's all you need to end a game. Release, it's nice defensive option if we are getting, if we overextended the turn before and now we're behind a little bit, we don't have everything we need. This is a good option to have, just protects us. Frozen, this is great. Once you're on your final turn, you're going to be using this every attack. You destroy 1 foundation, your rival commits 1 foundation. So a nice combo you could do with this is you use Midnight's ability to increase your own attack speed. Then you go ahead and you destroy that foundation, and so you get plus speed and you reduce the ready foundations the opponent has, and it's really good combination. First day of class, very important card. Your first attack is not going to be affected, but your second attack is, and it's amazing. It's really necessary, especially when we're extending. We go to Pillar Swing into, let's say, an Indiscriminate into a couple of Meteors or a Home Run Comet. We really do need that first day of class to reduce the checks. Wealthy Aspirations, we do play a lot of momentum because one of our final beaters is Home Run Comet, so we do like to have momentum. It's a nice option to have. And it's a good card. You could reduce this to 2 maybe, but I like the 1 low block, so I kept it at 3. Struggling with Studies, this is really good. If you overextend the turn before attacking, and now you're kind of behind, and the opponent is going to be pushing, this is a really good card to pull you out of that mess. The only problem is it's usually going to be committed, so you just got to be careful if you know that you're going to overextend. Make sure you don't commit this card, because you could flip it and get an extra defensive option in your hand. So maybe you only have 1 card in hand, you can block with it twice after the 3rd attack, And the only problem with this is usually all your foundations are going to be committed, because the opponent really will try to stun you and reduce your ability to play. Irrefutable Force of Nature. I like this to, when I want to stun, I'm going to go ahead and seal your It Can't Be Fixed, or if I could seal a Manly Passionate guy, or I could seal stuff that are very important, that do a lot of value, give a lot of value. The opponent just cannot use them during my turn. It's very helpful. For example, I could seal full regeneration. I mean, if that's sealed, it's done. It cannot be used ever. But usually I seal It Can Be Fixed, or any stun hate, like resistance, because I do stun a lot. We have Charged Up here. It's a nice option to have. I usually don't use it, even if it's on my foundations. I just need foundations. I use a lot of foundations, and I need to have as much as I can. But usually if I'm getting to the end, to the late game, this is a really good option to have. Usually I'm going to have over 10 cards in my foundation. I'm going to be able to get out of deadlock, and I add a card to my momentum. Usually what I add is Electric Jolt, so it gives me another option to be able to control the opponent. If it's not Electric Jolt, then I'll just get Meteor Shower on there, and that will give me another attack. Moving on, guys, we have Precise Control. This is a really good card. It could be a foundation when it needs to be. Also, if the opponent is extending, you don't have a lot of cards. This is why I don't like to play six-handers. They usually don't have a lot of cards. That's why All Might the Third is one of my favorite characters. He's an 8-hander basically, and 30 HP. But yeah, so what happens is, if you are gonna be stopped by your opponent, you can go ahead and use Precise Control, Breaker 1, bring it back to your hand, and now you have an extra block. But you do lose the foundation, which sucks, but you do gain that Breaker 1, and it's a pretty expensive block, so you really want to do this at the first attack. You don't want to do it any time after. League Interview, very important card. This activates our Pillar Swing. Almost 100% guaranteed is going to hit. Giant Ice Wall, almost 100% guaranteed is going to hit. It's a very, very important card to have. That's why we have it at 4, even though it's a really bad block modifier. Shock Treatment at 2, really nice option to have. Another stunner. He can stun twice with the same card during my turn, so amazing option to have. I just don't have too many of them, but you might actually like to run more, and this is a great option. Short Circuit, just in case if I've overextended the turn before, I don't have anything in my hand to block, and the opponent is pushing with the indiscriminate. Let's say he's pushing with something insane. He gave it +4 speed from Cementos, or +4 damage from Cementos, or whatever. Now I can reduce that damage again by blowing this up. Obviously, all of these guys are stunners besides Home Run Comet and Meteor Shower. These are my extending attacks. But how it's going to go is Electric Jolt is going to be the first attack. I'm going to stun, and I'm going to get this to momentum. Then my next turn, I'm going to try to push out a Pillar Swing into an Indiscriminate Shockwave. That's 3 stun. Plus, if I have anything in here, I might be able to get 4 or 5 stuns. And if the opponent, but this is turn 2, so we're talking about the opponent having maybe 7 set up foundations. Then we go into the Meteor Shower. Is really nice option to have. I only have 3 of it because it's just there in case we need that extra damage. But usually we end the game much quicker. We don't need the Meteor Showers. But it's also always nice to have this option, that if we needed one more attack, we don't have just the Midnight to cycle through the deck. We actually have Meteor Shower ready for us. Whenever we need that attack, we pull it out. Home Run Comet, usually my finisher. I love this card. Nobody expects it. It can go to 6 speed, 16 damage easily by turn 3. And if this is your final attack, 6 speed, 16 damage, nobody's going to expect that. Especially if they already blocked the Indiscriminate Shockwave. It's just going to be huge. Nobody's going to be able to block it. And she adds to her own foundation. She adds to her own power. Plus, her powerful rating gets higher the more charged attacks you use. So you always want to use her last. And it's I have her at 4, but you could run 3 maybe to psych the opponent out, not to show him what you have. But I like 4 just to make sure it's a good low mid block, and it's a good option to have, so I like to have it. Giant Ice Wall, it's just another stunner. Usually I start the attacking turn with this. I told you guys I love to stun with this deck. You want to stun as much as you can. If you could do this into discarding 1 momentum into an Indiscriminate Shockwave, this is a 5 stun play immediately. And Shockwave can stun another one, so 6. Plus if you have Final Exam Failure, that's 7. Frozen is 8. Shock Treatment is 9. And it could go into 10 too as well. So this is 10 Foundation's committed with two attacks. It's insane. It's insane. The strategy is insane. Now we have the side deck. A couple extra cards I could not find room in my deck. They're kind of techie cards, so you could run them. Cool Student, I've tested this card out. It just didn't work out for me. I like having my momentum for the home run comment, and I didn't really benefit from the +2. Usually it does help, but usually I don't have enough cards in my hand to utilize it, right? By the end of my extending turn, my attacking turn, I usually don't have any cards in my hand. Villains defeated here, just 2 off. It's a nice option to have. Your opponent is going to be discarding cards from your hand. You can flip it. Also, you could get rid of one of your opponent's attacks. If it's going to go into momentum, you get rid of it and you gain +2 HP. It's really not bad. Rocking Attitude, this is the brand new DLC we have. It's kind of like charged up is how I feel it. You could use it. You are going to reduce the amount of foundation you have, but it could be very, very useful. And also, it's actually nicer than recharged up because it actually gets rid of card pool. So it's really nice to have. Aiming for number 1, if your opponent is drawing a lot or discarding, or if your opponent is discarding a lot, drawing a lot, then there you are. You have a good option. Training with Gunhead, this is your only throw hate. You need to play this. I didn't find a room in here because I really didn't know the throw meta was that strong, but this, you need to find room for this. It's a 3 low block, but you could probably put 3 in there. It's really, really imperative for you to use. Confused, remove 1 attack from your rival discard pile and choose one of its keywords. This deck loses keywords. This is another throw hate option if your opponent is running a bunch of throw. I didn't know this, guys, but throw really does destroy this meta, because what they do is they take it to late game and then they just keep throwing you, and you, even though you're stunning everything, you're really not able to get through all the attacks you need, especially if you're getting bad checks. So it's really important to be able to stop these throws. So if you can just get rid of one of his attacks and get rid of that throw keyword, another throw hate right here. So yeah, guys, a little bit of stats. 1.7, I guess it's a pretty unstable deck, but I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's honestly, I believe it could be tier 1. There's everything it needs. It can stun up to 7 or 8 easily with 1 attack, like a Pillar Swing into Final Exam Failure. That's 2 stuns. That's 3. I mean, into Frozen, that's 4. Into Shock Treatment, that's 5. Then what else can I do? I guess that's all the stun I could do with that. So I could easily stun 5 in 1 attack. I could Shock Treatment, I could destroy that, make it a 6 stun. And that's insane. Stunning 6 in 1 attack. I mean, your opponent is not going to be able to block anything. You're just not going to... The opponent is just not going to have fun if this deck works out really well. I think it's best in mid game, so I'm very interested in your opinion, guys. Go ahead, try this deck out. Let me know what you think. And if you like content like this, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.